So let's talk about one of India's most important traditions, the Padma Awards. But this isn't just going to be a rundown of famous names. We're going to dig into a quiet but really powerful revolution in who gets these honors and what it tells us about what a nation truly values. Okay, so here's the plan. First, we'll get the basics down. What are the Padma Awards? Then we'll look at a typical year, say 2025, to see who used to get them. After that, we'll jump to the really fascinating part, the big shift that happened with the rise of so-called unsung heroes. We'll break down the new thinking behind it all, and finally, get into why this change is such a big deal. All right, first things first. Before we can really appreciate the change, we need to understand the institution itself. So, what exactly are the Padma Awards? The first thing you gotta know is just how huge these awards are. They're one of India's highest civilian honors, and they recognize incredible work in pretty much every field you can imagine. We're talking art, social work, science, you name it. Getting one of these, it's a massive deal. And they've been around for a while, too, since way back in 1954. There's this distinct rhythm to it every year. The winners are announced right before Republic Day in January, and then a couple of months later, they have the big ceremony where the President of India hands out the awards. Now, it's not just one award. There are 3 different levels. Think of it like a pyramid. At the very top, you have the Padma Vibhushan for truly exceptional service. One step down is the Padma Bhushan for distinguished service of a high order. And then you have the Padma Shri, which honors distinguished service in any field at all. Okay, so to really get why the change was so dramatic, let's look at what things were like before. We'll take a peek at a few winners from 2025, which gives us a perfect snapshot of the kind of well-known figures who were typically honored. First up, Osamu Suzuki, the former chairman of Suzuki Motor Corporation. He got the Padma Vibhushan. And why? Well, he's the guy who brought Maruti Suzuki to India, completely transforming the country's car industry. A global industry titan, no question. Next, let's jump over to the world of cinema. We've got Shekhar Kapoor, the acclaimed director who got the Padma Bhushan. This is the mind behind classics like Mr. India and the Oscar-nominated Elizabeth, a name that millions, and I mean millions of people know. And in the Padma Shri category, you see someone like Arijit Singh, who was just one of the most popular singers in India, period. His voice is everywhere. So Suzuki Kapoor Singh. You starting to see a pattern here? These are household names, right? Celebrated high-profile figures. And for a long, long time, this was the template. But then, in 2026, the script was flipped. Something really interesting happened. The focus shifted dramatically from the people in the spotlight to the people working in the shadows. This was the beginning of the era of the unsung heroes. And this quote, I think, just says it all. Greatness does not always make headlines. The whole idea was to find and honor those people who work patiently, selflessly, far away from the cameras, literally building the nation from the grassroots up. And you can see this new idea in action perfectly with someone like Dr. Padma Gurmat. She got a Padma Shri for her incredible work preserving a traditional Himalayan medical system in the remote region of Ladakh. Just think about that contrast for a second. We went from a global car CEO to a local doctor preserving ancient medicine. That's the shift, right there. Or how about Dr. Budri Tati from Chhattisgarh? She was awarded for her social work, providing selfless healthcare to thousands of people in really remote tribal areas. Her impact is just massive, but let's be honest, her name was probably unknown to most of the country until this award came along. So when we talk about these unsung heroes, who are we really talking about? Well, it's exactly these kinds of people, folks from tribal and marginalized communities, people working in tough, remote areas, artists saving dying traditions, and grassroots doctors and teachers, the real nation builders. Now, this wasn't just a coincidence, okay? This was a conscious, philosophical change. It was a move away from what some people used to call the Delhi Darbar, this idea that you had to be connected, to be near the center of power, towards something totally different, a true people's Padma. And this slide just lays it out so clearly. On the left, you've got the old way, focused on celebrities, often seen as Delhi-centric, and rewarding stuff that was already super visible. And on the right, the complete opposite, a proactive, nationwide search for people making a real impact on the ground, recognizing quiet, selfless service. The whole system basically flipped from rewarding fame to rewarding impact. And get this, it wasn't just a handful of these new awards either. In 2026, the president approved 131 Padma Awards in total, and that list was just packed with ordinary Indians doing absolutely extraordinary things. And if you look at where these awards went, it tells the whole story. Look at that, a huge chunk for social work, another big piece for preserving tribal and folk art, and then you have rural healthcare and education. This shows a real, intentional focus on sectors that are so important, but often fly under the radar. Okay, so why does all this matter? I mean, it's more than just a list of names, right? It's about something much bigger. It's about redefining what it even means to be a national hero. The ripple effects are huge. This People's Padma totally democratizes the idea of national service. It tells people in marginalized communities, hey, we see you. Your work is vital. It breaks down old walls between regions and classes, and maybe most importantly, it inspires regular citizens by sending a powerful message. Your hard, selfless work matters. It is seen and it is valued. It gives the whole country a new set of role models to look up to. And that really leaves us with this one big, powerful question to chew on. This whole shift in the Padma Awards is really just a reflection of a changing answer to this very question. What does a nation value when it chooses its heroes?